It's called The View?
It's called The View. It's not called The Facts.
Yeah, but
It's
isn't it interesting that it's called, I mean, I don't think they meant this when Barbara Walters invented it a long time ago, but it's The View.
Well,
that's the problem in America.
But
there is one view.
Right, and
one
that's clearly
true opinion, and everybody else can go sit in the corner.
That's correct.
Sunny Hostin just took a brutal 1-2 punch from Bill Maher and Megyn Kelly, and it hit so hard it felt like a live TV takedown nobody saw coming. One second, she was calmly sipping tea on The View, acting like she had the whole conversation locked down. The next, she was metaphorically tripping over her own cue cards, like the floor suddenly disappeared under her feet. What played out on screen left her blinking and confused, as if someone had unplugged her thoughts the same way Wi-Fi drops at the absolute worst moment. And Bill Maher didn't hesitate for even a second. The clash spiraled fast, packed with more chaotic energy than a reality show written by exhausted interns surviving on caffeine and pure desperation.
They're disgusting. She's Anna Navarro in your wildest imagination. You could never solo host a show. You will only ever make it as part of an ensemble, and you could never hope to achieve the success that Tucker Carlson has. So you can sit in your little cheap seats all day long and enjoy your little negative henpecking, but your careers are going nowhere, and Tucker is about to dominate.
Bill Maher and Megyn Kelly, two people who have never needed permission to speak plainly, finally decided they'd had enough of Sunny Hostin's constant attempts to dominate every conversation. Maher came in with his dry, scorched earth sarcasm, while Megyn delivered calm, razor-sharp breakdowns that cut cleaner than a scalpel. Together, they turned Sunny's usual soapbox into something that looked more like a flimsy IKEA stool wobbling on uneven floors. The whole exchange felt less like a debate and more like an academic demolition derby, where Sunny showed up holding a glitter glue stick while the other two rolled in with fully loaded bulldozers, ready to hit the gas.
I want to talk about Whoopi Goldberg because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before.
Sure.
So everybody was like, oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma. First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week, teaser. But there is no fucking thing as karma, okay? Get over that. Whoopi attacks me on a regular basis. She says stupid shit on a regular basis. They just happen to coincide. But
let's dive in. Sunny Hostin's go-to move? Waving her law degree like a glowing lightsaber from the Academy of Absolute Certainty, as if it magically silences every rune. Her credentials are practically tattooed on her forehead. Former federal prosecutor, legal expert, professional finger-wagger, and non-stop authority on anything she touches. But let's be honest, whenever someone starts a sentence with, "as a lawyer," you can almost guarantee what comes next will be wildly off, painfully predictable, or aggressively unnecessary. And Sunny somehow manages to hit all three at once. It's like watching a dramatic legal TED Talk, stripped of facts but overflowing with moral grandstanding, delivered in a tone that screams, "I am always the smartest person here."
That hot mess that they air in the mornings, called The View, had to issue not one, not two, not three, but 4 corrections, legal corrections, 4 legal notes. Not to mention what they did at that debate, where once again, they tried to fact check only one side, and then when their fact checks got fact checked, they cowered. They cowered in fear. I mean, this is a pattern.
What's truly impressive about Sunny Hostin is her uncanny talent for turning literally anything, a simple TikTok trend or even the correct way to store mayonnaise, into a sweeping lecture on racial injustice. She could watch a puppy get rescued and somehow turn it into a deep dive on systemic oppression, all while sounding absolutely certain she'd uncovered some hidden conspiracy. It's like watching a human version of a chaotic Twitter feed, loud, dramatic, and seemingly determined to misinterpret everything on purpose. And honestly, sometimes she gets so lost in her own arguments that even Whoopi struggled to sit through the train wreck happening right next to her on that panel.
any term you want.
Okay.
Because maybe that is a word that's triggering, and so let's not use that word. I don't know, want to call it the super far left, but don't tell me the left
Maybe the super far right.
Well, he's talking about the left. Well, then
okay, but we talked about that. I mean, I think we agree about the danger of the super far right, and I can't say it enough. I think they're the bigger threat. But don't tell me that the left hasn't changed. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when it was the conservatives who hated the Jews.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sunny Hostin didn't just get challenged, she got completely steamrolled in a full-blown philosophical demolition derby. The only thing she managed to keep intact, her signature look of moral disappointment. Having strong opinions is one thing, but turning every conversation into a dramatic sermon from the top of Mount Condescension is a whole other performance, and that's basically Sunny's full-time role on the panel. She's not having discussions, she's staging courtroom dramas where she's the star, the jury, and the applause sign all at once. The problem? Bill Maher and Megyn Kelly don't play by that script. They don't need the audience to cheer with every word. They come armed with facts, wit, and razor-sharp logic that instantly flip the whole dynamic. And when Sunny gets cornered by simple truths, she doesn't adapt, she doubles down, as if yelling louder could somehow turn her arguments into genius.
And finally, new rule, stop saying that Whoopi Goldberg getting yanked from The View right after she attacked me on The View is karma. There's no such thing as karma, sorry. Sorry, but life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious.
Maher, seasoned and completely unfazed, watched the scene unfold with the calm detachment of a professor grading yet another freshman essay titled, "Why I'm Always Right." He didn't even need to interrupt. Sunny Hostin's monologue collapsed on its own. With every overly sanctimonious breath, she sank further into a rhetorical pit filled with dramatic buzzwords, predictable outrage, and a thick layer of self-congratulation that practically fogged up the room. Then Megyn Kelly stepped in, cool, razor-sharp, and almost surgical in the way she dismantled the entire spectacle without raising her voice or leaning on theatrics. She methodically stripped away Sunny's polished facade of forced gravitas, layer by layer, until all that was left was a collapsing echo chamber of recycled indignation.
They had a discussion on The View about world superpowers from the sound of it. That's how they got into it. And Sunny Hostin made some comments about patriotism and America and Black America. It's all in there, Jason. I mean, it's all in there. I'm going to tee it up. It starts with Alyssa Farah, who's supposed to be the Republican commentator. And then you'll hear Sunny jump in. Listen.
If America is not the #1 global power, it's not going to be Denmark. It's going to be communist China, a country that right now the government is imprisoning Uyghur Muslims in concentration camps. It is a deeply racist government. It's a human rights violating government. It is a government that if they are the leader of the free world, we are not a free world the way that we are right now.
The notion of patriotism and the notion of America and the American flag has been co-opted by the right as if they are true patriots. But when I listen to Christopher Wray, the head of the FBI, he said white supremacy is the biggest domestic threat to this country.
Sunny Hostin's whole routine relies on one thing, never being directly challenged. She thrives in long monologues, not real conversations, where every point is accused, dramatized, and moralized to fit her personal script. But when someone like Megyn Kelly calmly pokes even a single hole in that carefully inflated balloon of superiority, the collapse is immediate and impossible to hide. What happened next wasn't a minor slip or a tiny misstep, it was a full-blown ideological faceplant, leaving her desperately grasping for footing. When your entire persona rests on fragile scaffolding built from moral grandstanding, even the smallest push feels like an earthquake. And this time, that shaky house of cards didn't just wobble, it spectacularly crumbled in a moment so awkward and cringeworthy, it practically echoed through the studio.
Donald Trump will be sworn in as the 47th president of the United States, yay, on January 20th of this month. Not everyone's happy about it, and many people would like us to be more focused on the insurrection that he personally unleashed, if you ask them. As we discussed earlier, they think it's as bad as like the Holocaust, and you don't have to take my word for it. Here is Sunny Hostin of The View.
January 6th was an
today.
atrocity. It was one of the worst moments in American history. And when you think about the worst moments in American history, like World War II, things that happened, like the Holocaust, chattel slavery.
Yeah, the January 6th is right up there next to the Holocaust and slavery.
Megyn Kelly, whose very presence seems to set off Sunny Hostin like an alarm in a silent room, doesn't even have to try. Sunny's voice jumps an octave the moment her name comes up. Megyn brings a rare and apparently controversial skill to The View. She speaks clearly, backed by facts, coherent reasoning, and actual sources. On that panel, it's treated almost like forbidden magic. She can lay out data, walk through a logical timeline, and do it all without a dramatic sigh or emotional meltdown, which somehow feels like a threat to the entire ecosystem. Meanwhile, Sunny clutches her pearls, reacting to yet another imaginary political crisis spun from vague TV commentary. Megyn, calm and precise, methodically dismantles Sunny's narrative. She cites sources, drops statistics, and explains everything without raising her voice. A display of composure and literacy so sharp, it's practically terrifying to the rest of the table.
I want you to note the tone they all talk with him. I want you to look at Sunny Hostin's body language and the way they look at him and everything else. Just because he is a lefty who hasn't gone completely bananas, here they are talking about the word woke.
The term woke has been, in my view, co-opted by the right and weaponized and bastardized. And so I was surprised to hear you use the term because historically, as you know, because I think you're quite brilliant, that woke is a word used by the black community to note that we must be aware of social injustices.
But words migrate.
Why is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing, and originally that was absolutely a great thing. Alert to injustice. Who's not for that? But words do migrate.
Sunny Hostin shows up loaded with emotional smoke bombs, dramatic outbursts, and hand gestures that look more like interpretive dance routines symbolizing oppression. Meanwhile, Megyn Kelly responds with calm, precise reasoning that cuts through the chaos like a guided missile. It's like watching someone bring a coloring book to a chess tournament and then throw a fit when the other player actually knows how the pieces move. You can practically see Sunny's thoughts glitch in real time every time Megyn references actual data, logic, or history. Her only defense is retreating into a fortress of indignation, arguing as if 2 + 2 equals systemic injustice, and then acting shocked when Megyn metaphorically whips out a calculator to prove otherwise. And Sunny's confusion doesn't end there. She seems to believe sarcasm is an attack and comedy is emotional warfare, making her reactions even more exaggerated and baffling to watch.
Whoopi Goldberg was angry when Alyssa pointed out that Trump went to the funeral of Officer Diller.
Yes.
On Long Island, and Joe Biden went to a podcast. Look at Whoopi Goldberg's reaction.
Choose what you like there, but for Republicans, it was good imagery.
Really?
One day later, yes.
And I'm asking that because I was so offended because you know who showed up.
Yeah.
And he was, whether he was asked or not. This
So he
is a
was
man
invited.
who didn't care what happened to the officers on January 6th.
She promotes Joe Biden and Kamala Harris every day on that show. Trump wasn't supportive enough of the cops who were, yes, in danger on J6th. How does that explain their behavior on a daily basis?
It's 2025, and somehow Sunny Hostin still hasn't grasped the simple truth. Comedians exist to make fun of everyone. That's literally the whole point of their job. Expecting Bill Maher not to joke about public figures is like walking into a bakery and being shocked they sell bread. Yet every time Maher makes even the mildest comment, Sunny reacts like someone just climbed onto a table and read her entire middle school diary aloud, including the doodles and that forgotten poem about justice. She clutches her pearls and gasps, "How dare he?" as if personal offense is a valid rebuttal in a comedy monologue. The real centerpiece of the chaos, though, was her painfully awkward attempt to out-intellectualize Maher and Megyn Kelly. She tossed out historical references with all the precision of a toddler flinging spaghetti at a wall, hoping something would stick, but most of it landed as confused noise. She lobbed half-formed legal jargon like unpinned grenades, trying to sound profound, but came across like someone who skimmed Wikipedia over breakfast, leaving even a courtroom stenographer ready to jot down incoherent babble in sheer exasperation.
Last week you called white Republican women cockroach.
Actually, I didn't. And
But you said they're acting like cockroaches.
I used it in a similar. Let me answer that.
Okay.
I used it as metaphor. Here's what I'm going to ask you all to do. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you to tone it down a bit because I can't hear anything. No one can hear what's being said.
She just said I
Do you
called white
understand
women
why
roaches.
people
All right, we're going to go to break. We're going to break. Can't take it.
Bill Maher, calm as a frozen lake in a cryogenic chamber, leaned back and let Sunny Hostin's dramatic tirades bounce off him like foam darts hitting a brick wall. This wasn't his first stroll through an ideological minefield. He's been navigating debates like this since the early days of dial-up internet, and his patience showed. You could practically see decades of media experience rolling their eyes every time Sunny tried to pin him to a metaphorical cross of righteous outrage, convinced she was crafting a show-stopping closing argument worthy of a viral montage by accounts like Woke Warrior Queen. Meanwhile, Maher looked mentally checked out, already halfway through imagining his third glass of red wine and silently calculating the time of his flight home, while Sunny barreled ahead with her dramatic monologue, completely unaware that her audience had already clocked out.
And by the way, out there, that hat that you keep wearing, that red hat that says "Make America Great Again," that tells people that you go along with this. So you might as well just put a swastika on the hat.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Because we see it anyway.
I'm not going to defend Donald Trump ever, but I would never say that we should put the swastika on the cap, because I think you can hate Donald Trump. You can't hate everybody who likes him. It's half the country. I don't want to live in that country. I don't want to live in the country where I hate half the country, and I don't hate half the country.
How dare you disagree with me?
Megyn Kelly didn't even have to raise her voice. Her calm, razor-sharp responses made Sunny Hostin look like she was being quietly dismantled, turning the exchange into something less like a debate and more like an exorcism, with Megyn as the steady cleric. Sunny acted as if reality were just another opinion she could rewrite, clinging to the belief that her outrage was always justified and anyone who disagreed was automatically wrong. She doesn't debate. She stages judgment ceremonies where she plays judge, jury, and prosecutor, expecting applause between commercial breaks while leaning on condescension, selective stats, and emotional stories that confuse more than they clarify. The moment another woman pushes back, especially Megyn, Sunny drops any pretense of sisterhood and goes full combat mode. Her meltdown peaked when she shifted from losing the argument to playing the moral victim, her go-to escape when logic fails and feelings run dry, labeling the other person as dangerous. Bill Maher didn't fall for it. He calmly highlighted how absurd the situation had become, leaving Sunny scrambling for dignity while viewers just wanted clarity. In the end, her collapse wasn't physical, it was the crumbling of a worldview that couldn't survive a direct challenge. No matter how loudly she protested, the truth was undeniable. Sunny Hostin got absolutely torched on live television.